I sat in a cold FBI interrogation room and realized my husband had forged my name on $1 million fraud scheme. The bright fluorescent lights hummed above the metal table, casting sharp shadows over the thick stack of financial documents the investigators had laid out in front of me. For 5 years, I believed I was living a normal, secure, suburban life with my husband, Mark. When he casually mentioned he was setting up a shell corporation under my name to prepare for the day I finally left my corporate design firm to start my own business, it made perfect sense. I trusted him completely because he was my husband, and I never taught to double-check the legal filings. I never signed a single paper, never saw a fake invoice, and never touched a single dollar of the accounts. But on paper, my legal exposure was total. The nightmare truly began on a Tuesday morning when 2 federal agents knocked on my front door with a search warrant. The sheer terror turned my stomach completely sour as they escorted me out of my home, my neighbors watching from their lawns in absolute shock. Just the week before, Mark had taken me out to a quiet lunch, looking completely sick as he confessed that he had messed up at work and was going to be fired. He had looked me dead in the eye and lied, claiming another paralegal at his firm had compromised the accounts. What he cowardly chose to omit was that he had spent the last 2 years using my name as a shield to cover his massive gambling debts, funneling stolen corporate funds directly into a company where I was listed as the sole general partner. For over a year, my life became a waking hell of legal fees, sleepless nights, and endless interrogation sessions. We didn't have the money for a high-end defense attorney, so I had to watch my personal savings completely evaporate just to keep myself from being indicted. The federal prosecutors treated me like a criminal mastermind, openly mocking my claims of innocence. The turning point arrived when my attorney demanded a federal polygraph examination, which I had to pay for out of my own pocket. I sat in that tiny room, the wires strapped tightly across my chest, answering questions about crimes I hadn't even heard of until the FBI showed up. I passed it perfectly, because the absolute truth was the only thing I had left. Your husband didn't just mismanage funds, ma'am, the lead FBI agent said. He systematically set you up to take the fall the exact second his firm started auditing the invoices. He placed you directly in the line of fire to buy himself time to liquidate his assets. The realization hit me like a physical blow. The man I shared a bed with, the man I had supported through every single rough patch, had used my very existence to protect himself from the consequences of his own greed. He had watched me panic and watched me lose 20 pounds from pure stress, all while pretending to be a supportive partner who was just dealing with a bad workplace mistake. Cleared by the FBI didn't mean getting that agonizing year of my life back, but the legal system wasn't done with Mark yet. While I was busy proving my innocence through forensic accounting and polygraphs, the FBI was quietly tracking the digital trail of the stolen money. They discovered a hidden offshore account Mark had established in the Cayman Islands using a completely separate set of forged documents that I had never even been linked to. The final piece of evidence proved definitively that he was the sole beneficiary of every single fraudulent invoice, completely clearing me of any remaining legal suspicion. Yesterday afternoon, Mark was sitting at our kitchen table, casually reviewing a legal brief from his public defender, completely convinced that his plea deal would keep him out of the harshest federal facilities. Out of nowhere, 3 unmarked federal SUVs pulled into our driveway. 4 armed FBI agents moved up the porch steps, kicked the front door wide open, and flooded our entryway with their weapons drawn before he could even stand up from his chair. Mark Harrison, you are under arrest for bank fraud, wire fraud, and identity theft, the lead FBI agent shouted, slamming him face first against the kitchen counter and pulling his arms behind his back. Mark's face went completely pale. He looked over his shoulder at me, his mouth opening to speak, desperately searching my face for a single trace of sympathy or forgiveness. I stood by the living room doorway, crossed my arms, and watched in absolute silence as they dragged him out the front door in his shirt sleeves. I didn't say goodbye, and I didn't follow the cruiser down the street. As the taillights disappeared around the corner of our neighborhood, I finally took a deep breath, knowing the real culprit was finally locked behind federal bars.